Hello, hello, hello. This is Deborah Deras, and we are back with another episode of the Align for Success podcast. I am a speaker, author, and your host, peak performance expert, bringing to you experts that have inspired me with their ability to align for success. And my intention is that their wisdom will help you to know the inner tools to be able to create your outer success. And I'm super excited because tonight we have a very, very special guest. But before I introduce her, I want to let you know that this is a conversation. And any of you that have questions that are joining us live on the Facebook, you can comment below and I will be answering and Angelina and I will be answering your questions right here live. And this show is being sponsored by the Ignite Your Revenue group coaching program. If you are a soul based entrepreneur and you are ready to ignite your revenue, this is your Netflix of mindset, marketing, and manifestation tools. Plus, you get to be surrounded with soul based entrepreneurs. Are you sick of those negative Nellies that are around? These are people that are going to support you, that are going to create this energy to really hold you accountable to stepping up, not just to a job, but to your soul's contract, your soul's purpose. And we meet each and every month. If you want more information, you can go to the website at deborahderas.com/events. So now let me introduce our guest. But before I do, I have a quote from her. Angelina believes before you connect with the one, you need to build a relationship with yourself. When loneliness and neediness are no longer prolonged feelings that come up for you, when you are 100% confident the right person will come at the right time. Until then, you are living life. A man is not responsible for your happiness. So,
Ooh,
Angelina Rosario,
hey.
yeah, it's a good one, right? Angelina Rosario is a leader, certified IPEC coach, author, speaker, and overcomer. She has influenced thousands of women by teaching them that trials and setbacks are their secret weapons toward achieving success and becoming their best version. She was born and raised in my favorite place, Miami, Florida. I should have been born with you, right? Angelina teaches others to move out of the way of blocking their blessings and to tap into their inner truth to live an abundant life. Welcome, Angelina.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I know I was so looking forward to this, and I was just so happy to see you. It's been a year since we were together
Oh
manifesting
my
our goals with
gosh.
Oprah, right?
It's been a year. Wow. Wow. Okay, yes, that was an amazing event. But yes, I can believe it's been a year. Miami misses you, Deb.
I know. I'll be back as soon as I can. That's the first place. That's the first place I want to go. That's the first place I want to go. And when I had the blessing of getting to spend some quality time with Angelina, I just was so amazed by your discipline, by the practices that you are so dedicated to each and every day to align for success. And so that's why you were the perfect example of what this show is all about. But before we even get into your disciplines and your book, I want you to tell them a little bit about your story and what you've been through and how you've come to be this amazing speaker, coach, and author.
Yeah, how? Absolutely. Yeah. So before all that beautiful success that you just announced, thank you so much. I guess let's just fast forward a little bit more because my story really begins in my childhood, right? Being raised with a single mother with two sisters in the projects. But I wouldn't say that's where my spiritual journey truly began. I believe my spiritual journey began when my 4-year relationship ended, when my future, I guess you can say, um, fiance just decided to say, hey, I'm not ready for marriage. I don't even know if I'm in love with you anymore. I have to go. And I was in total shock. But now that I look back, I understand the reason why. But yeah, that's where my spiritual journey, I was heartbroken. But now think about this, Deb. Like, I wish it was like oh yeah, I got over the heartbreak and I was able to move forward and find new love. But that's not exactly how my story unfolded. And it was a really hard time for me for the first year. But shortly after, I was diagnosed with a tumor the size of a baseball on the right side of my face, where I underwent 4 major surgeries, one that left me barely walking for months. And I'm blessed because the doctor said they would have to cut the right side of my leg and the right side of my face to remove this tumor. But a lot of miracles unfolded, which is why when you talk about being dedicated to my morning practice, it's just because of that, because of the miracles I saw unfold in my own life. And from there, when I was healing, I just started writing a lot. And that was just a healing process for me. But the whole entire journey was about 7 years. That meant,
Wow.
yes. And I think that in 7 years to me means that number is very significant to me because it means the year of completion.
Ah, true.
So yeah, but there was a lot of, I believe down like deep rooted issues that I didn't deal with in the past either, with being abandoned by a dad, living in the projects, having 2 sisters, living on my own by the age of 16, having to figure it out, having 2 jobs, going to high school, graduating, going to college. So all those things that I thought I dealt with, I just suppressed it. So by the time I got to my spiritual journey, I had to go back and kind of heal the past as well. So there was a lot that I had to overcome. But I think I'm so thankful for it because I'm able to share the story. I couldn't understand it then. I'm like, why me? And I was, that victim mentality. I don't understand that this is not fair. There's people out there who truly are doing some evil things and I'm here suffering. But yeah, I mean, it was a long journey because even in ICU, let me go back. It was definitely in ICU where I believe that the reason why the book and everything else manifested. As I'm sitting there, there's like tubes all over my mouth. And I'm just trying to wonder like what's going to happen after this, because at this point I am being told that I'm not going to be able to walk for a while and I would have to learn how to speak again. And I remember my perspective changing because I remember one specific night because I was in ICU for 6 days and I'm hearing like nurses in the middle of the night just like rushing by. And it was like in the middle of the night, I don't know all these codes, but I'm hearing cold blue, cold red, cold. I'm like, what in the world? But I knew based on the sense of urgency that somebody didn't make it and someone wasn't going to be able to see tomorrow. Okay. And being in that predicament, I remember that everything shifted for me. I said, oh, wait, I'm still breathing. Regardless if I have all these tubes in my mouth and whatever the doctor's saying at the time, I'm still breathing. I still have a purpose. And I made up my mind. I remember making a promise to God. I look up. I said, God, if you can get me through this, I promise I will devote my life to helping others transform their life. I will be honest. I was a very, very private person. And I always, because I had to do so much at such a young age, I almost built this wall that I wanted to make it seem. First, I didn't want anyone to get that close to me, but I also wanted to project like I had it all together.
Right.
And I didn't have it all together. So that's where the vulnerability came from. And I saw miracles unfold and I devoted myself and here we are. A book manifested and became a certified IPEC coach. And yes, and Deb, I have to thank you. I think the stars were aligning because you were like my first coach. I remember this and I remember nothing happens by chance because I remember as I was starting my journey, I was sure that I wanted to do this. And I remember my sister calling and saying, hey, my sister works for the credit union at the time in Miami. And she was like, there's this woman speaking. And I swear, she like reminds me so much of you, like your energy. You guys need to connect. And God has a way of working it together because you introduced me to the speaking world.
Yeah, and it was just like when we were in the room, like people, I could see their eyes, but your sister was like, yeah, like everything I said. And then when I was reading your book, there were things that I said in that training. It's just when you're connected to source, when you're connected to God, when you're connected to the infinite, it's the same. The divine downloads are the same. But one of the big takeaways I got from what you were saying when you were in the hospital, I think that's so profound and that a lot of people that are out there need to hear it, is, when people are going code red and that meant that they weren't going to make it, it taught you a new level of gratitude, of just thankfulness, not just for, even in the midst of everything that was going on, just for breath. And that when you have breath, you have life, which is,
Yes.
and yet last year when I did my vision board, I did it after we came back from Oprah. And on the center of my vision board, it said breathe. And
Mm.
then everything around it was like yoga and the beach. And I was thinking about everything that happened in 2020 was all about the breath. Like I can't breathe through the mask. I can't breathe, like here in California we had fires. And then that practice, that inner work, the alignment for success of being grateful, which is what you talk about in your book, that every
Yes.
challenge that you have, and this is about soulmate relationships, ladies, anybody, or men as well, anybody looking for love or wanting to have that true love, that soulmate love. Can you talk about the inspiration for the book and how writing it helped you heal?
Absolutely. I mean, one, I didn't know it was going to turn into a book, right? I was really journaling a lot. And as I was journaling, putting my story, and it was just releasing. I believe in journaling. I believe that a lot of things we suppress, and by journaling, you're able to release. It's very therapeutic for me. And I was able to be vulnerable and just document my whole entire journey. And I was also able to read the Bible, something that I never really read from the beginning to the end. And it was timing for me because it went from, I remember back when I used to look at the Bible, I'm like, what in the world is this thing talking about? Right? It's like over my head. And finally, I think at this point, I was like, the scriptures were resonating with my heart. So I was able to write that on my journal, which is where you get a lot of the scriptures in that book that I stood on as affirmations. Those are my affirmations when I was having a low moment. I was standing on the scriptures, many of them. So fast forward, because I believe when the student's ready, the teacher appears, right? I was ready. And I remember this person saying, hey, like hearing my story, like you need to write a book. And I'm like, why didn't you say that? And I was like, I think I may have something, but it's a journal. It's just a whole bunch of writing. But I feel like someone needs to hear every time I hear my story that I'm vulnerable enough to share it on social media. I always get these direct messages saying, I needed that message. Thank you for letting me know I'm not by myself. Thank you for letting me know that heartbreaks could be a blessing to you. So I'm like, there's something here. And when I realized how many lives I was impacting on my social media platform, I knew I wanted to do more. And then I started having my vision. I'm like, I don't want to self-publish. I want my book at bookstores. I want my book here. And it sounded really far-fetched. I know it did at the time. But I'm like, I believe that I can manifest this. Why not
Right.
me? Right? And
Right.
so
Why
it took a
not
year and a
me?
half. Why not me?
Good one.
Jensen Cyril, I have read You're a Badass I don't know how many times. And this one time that I read this book, there was this page saying, if you want to learn how to put a book proposal together. And I'm like, you can order something here online. And I was like, I've never heard this, but it was time for me to hear it. Received that. I actually followed that template to put a book proposal because I was getting ready to send it out to the top agents. I'm like, why not me?
Right.
And I was in DC, actually about to speak at a women's conference, and there was a group of women that I just kind of just intruded. Like that was part of my year of like getting very uncomfortable, just going by myself to places and just having these conversations. Turned out one woman was a publisher, but she was so nonchalant. Like it was really just like, hi. I'm like, hi. And I was introducing myself. And until they realized I was a speaker, it's when their whole demeanor changed, which so they thought I was just a guest coming into the women's conference. But interesting enough, I invited the woman to my session, and it didn't seem like she had much interest. But God has His way of working things. I went in, and because I went to bless the room, and I realized how big the room was, I was like, "There's no way in hell I'm going to fill this room up, right?" Like I feel like there's no way, but I did, and so I didn't see her show up in there, but she did. I think the day after she emailed me, she was like, I was so taken back by your story. Please send me your book proposal. I had a book proposal done because I was getting ready. So the time, I'm like, no, isn't this interesting? What are the odds of me
That's
having
so awesome. You don't wait for the offer to do it. You do it. Why not me? Why not? And this is for everything, not just writing a book, for everything. For a soulmate too. For your
Yes.
career, for
Oh,
your abundance, for everything too. Why not me? Why not me?
That's a whole different, but I definitely set my intentions for my soulmate. That was a whole different, I was serious about that one. But yeah, with the book, I guess in the same way I was deep, when they said, just not being attached to anything. I wasn't
Yes.
attached to the outcome. I was very open to receiving however God wanted me to do the book. And sure enough, okay, the woman emails me, taken back by the story, send this book proposal, give us a week to see if we want to represent you. We came back and said, we love it. We want to represent you. And here I am. I was like,
And was it like a 3-part book deal? Because this is your second book, right?
this is my first
Oh,
book.
this is your first one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, this is my first one. And it's interesting enough, you just kind of called something into my life because someone just spoke
I
to me
thought
the
it was
other
3 parts.
day.
There's 2 more books that you're
No,
coming out.
someone spoke that I'm gonna do 3 more books. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
I
Thank you.
affirm that. Why not
I
you?
receive it.
Yeah.
But no, it was really it just so happened that the publisher, and she just went through a breakup, so she can relate to the book.
Oh.
So it worked out. But it was such a great process, and the book has blessed so many people. And who would have thought that sharing my story and the mistakes that I did and telling people don't do it, or stand on these affirmations, that they would, if they followed through with it, it works. And I've heard some really great feedback.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I am like underlining, and it's not just a book. Look, there's exercises in the
There
book.
is exercises.
Yeah. So let's talk about the premise of the book and who needs to have this in their hot little hands.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so if anyone, this is for someone, I say a couple people, but the first one would be if someone is really truly ready to receive love. And they're done. They're tired of being tired. And they've met all the idiots in the world, because there are some idiots out there, but only, and I had to do some, okay, so let me take back, because sometimes it's hard pointing fingers at ourselves. Like, at what point do you say, okay, I believe truly in law of attraction, and I cannot only believe in that in the areas of my life that is working, I also have to believe that in those areas that are not working.
Right.
Right. So I'm attracting these frogs for a reason.
Frogs. Yeah.
I don't need to go kissing them. I don't need, they're not Prince. Like, I can tell they're not Prince Charming from a mile away. And it was me, and this would definitely be Jen. Jen had me, my coach, my relationship coach, had me work on my core values. I think that set apart, like when I'm just like, if I was going on a date and it was not aligned with my core values, you would just be gone. It wouldn't even be any more conversations to that point. Then
like, give an example of core values, like spirituality, like.
Well, she asked my questions in 7 different ways, which then narrowed it down to 3 core values. And some people would think, because it's actually in order, that it would be love, because I want love. For me, it's peace. Peace is huge for me.
Me too.
Yeah. So once you disturb my peace, like, you're done.
Yeah.
Right. Because we're not aligned.
Right.
But then I did some deeper work and said, why am I attracting these type of men? Right? Like, what's going on with me? So I actually went on a complete cleansing, and did a lot of deep work. It went from like 45 minutes on just meditation on what I want to bring forth in my life. It was solely on love. I would like write a letter to God, thanking him, right? Thanking him for my soulmate, and that I have received him. And I'm so thankful that and I just wrote down the qualities that I was truly looking for in a man, and that I will be open to receive him. Till then, please don't bring no one to me. Like, it's okay. Like, I'm okay.
Don't waste my time. I don't need no frog kissing. I'll be happy dating myself, which is what you talked about in your book. How you dated.
Questions. And here's another thing, Deb. I think we don't ask enough questions.
Yes.
Right? Like, we're afraid to ask those hard questions. Like, what are your core values? Like, what do you believe in? Where do you see yourself in the 3 to 5 years? Like, where do you see yourself with your finances? Like, where do you see yourself with your career? We're afraid that we can come off as like being this crazy person asking too many questions. It's your life.
Right.
Like, you should take it that serious.
And it's your time and precious energy that you're sharing with someone, even if it's just for coffee. If they're not aligned, Get it? Align for success. Then it's just not a match. There's nothing personal. It's just like you're not the right person for this position.
No, and you know, until I did the cleansing, I would tell you the boundaries were really important. But now I can work backwards. You know, I think it's Steve Jobs that said you can never connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them when you look back.
Right.
Now that I believe that I've been connected with my soulmate, I would tell you the difference. I would tell you that it's clear as day once you've done all the proper cleansing. There is no game. There is no trying to like, I don't know, maybe, or he hasn't called you and you waiting. No, 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 no. A man or a woman, I would say a man, I'm gonna talk about what I feel a man's role is, and that masculine energy should want to call you, should want to check up on you, should want to hear your voice each and every
Right.
day,
Right.
right? Should want the best for you. Why not? I live with the why not.
I
Why
love it.
not? And I always went in prayer too. So after a date, I got down on my knees and I would say, Lord, if this man is not the man that you have ordained for me, remove him.
Yes.
Make it so obvious that I would know that this man is not in my life. I don't have time to be kicking it for someone to just have dinner. I don't have time to be kicking it for someone to have a conversation over the phone. I love myself way too much. I can have a conversation all with myself, and I don't have a problem having dinner with myself. I love it.
You said something in the book that was such an awakening, and I wish I have so many highlights. I don't even know where it is. My favorite psalm is "Be still and know that I'm God." That's my favorite. I have that everywhere. But you said something like, "Until you are comfortable being by yourself, why would anybody else want to be with you?" And you said,
Amen.
"Don't." Oh, it was so good. It made me cry. You said, "Don't fill up space with activities. Fill up space with God." And I was like, "Yeah." Preach, girl, preach. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Yes, because I think we get to the point. I've seen it with my own girlfriend. Shoot, I've done, I've done that mistake. So everything that I talk about is really on things that I've also done. So, sometimes we get so lonely. Let's talk about this biological clock which by the way, I told you I read the Bible from the beginning and the end. I don't
Right.
see anything about you need to be married by 30 and have kids by 32 or you're
Right,
a loser.
right. There's no
Like,
deadlines.
I'm like, there's no deadline. Like, who came up with this pressure and then we're marrying idiots? Like, what happened here, right? So I think if you take that pressure off yourself, and if you're not married by now and you don't have the kids yet, and those are your desires, I truly believe that God will bring them forth. And how he'll bring them forth is that if you put anything before him, he's not going to bless you. Now, understand that I believe God gives you free will.
Right.
And I believe that free will, you get to choose in which direction you want to go.
Right.
I'm not always saying God's direction is easy, but it's the best direction, right? Because our flesh wants to entertain the short conversation with a man just to say that I had a conversation with a man, or like feel like you got some text on some random week of the, we've all been through it.
Right.
When you decide to say, I believe, when you decide to say no and spend time, when you get lonely, you feel like, oh, this sucks, I'm never going to find my husband, and you decide to go to the Bible, I believe is one of the best books I've ever read. And make it very practical. I think we complicate this whole, I say religion thing, because it's not really, when you complicate it's more religious. When you're aligned, it's more spirituality.
Right. That's why I loved how you put the Psalms into the context, because then it's like, oh, that totally makes sense. That totally makes sense.
Because it's a blueprint to our life, and I put it to work and it works. Like, I'm one that you have to show me the proof, boo. Like, show me the money, show me the proof. Right. So it was like, I put it to work to see if this really worked, and it does. So, I started spending like the moments that I decided not to speak to these guys on the phone, because, I also think that temptation is real. They're going to call you. They're going to text you. They're going to ask you to hang out. And you have to remind yourself, you have to go back to your core values and what you stand for, and then going back to what you want out of life. And if they're already showing you, Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are,
believe them.
Believe them.
Believe them. That was our coach, Oprah's coach. And it's so funny that you said the N, the no, because align stands for, in my book, A is for awareness, L is for letting go, I is for the inner work, G is for grounding. That's why I moved to the beach. And N is for saying no. And what I learned from you, which was a big awakening, is when you say no to what is not for you, you align in our integrity with your soul. But when you're not, you're saying, frogs, come over, frogs.
Amen.
And
Yes.
then you can't blame them. Oh, there's so many frogs out here. You're calling the frogs in. You're
Yes.
we're little worms.
Yes.
Froggy,
You're
froggy.
like, but, and that's the point. I'm glad you're saying that because so many of us go complaining. I was one that you have to understand what you want out of life. And if you get yourself in a situation that you knew better, because I believe your inner guidance, your wisdom, your Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, your inner GPS is always guiding you. So when you feel a little butterfly or something doesn't feel right, something is not aligned, trust yourself. And be okay that you don't need to know the timing. You can let go and not need to know when you're going to find the next date. Or if you're feeling like, oh my God, I'm like losing out. I talk about this in my book. That social media, cleansing out social media. Yes.
When you said that, that helped me so much because social media was making me cry. Because I was, and even I was like, everybody's so happy. Why am I still alone? Right. And when you said take a cleanse from that, I was like, okay, good.
Take a cleanse. You owe it to yourself. I say that in the book. You owe it to yourself. If you like, if you are following people that like, I was the queen of unfollowing because I was like, whoop, mute, 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 and I needed that for my own sanity, right?
Yes.
Because I also knew from a family perspective that many people, I'm not saying many, some of my people weren't happy in the marriages. But yet, if you look at social media, you would think they're like the last couple in the world. So I'm like, wait a minute. How many people are doing this? Because I know their story. Right. And so I'm like, I have to remove because it's nothing wrong with what they're doing. It's triggering something for me.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And you just want to make sure that you're aware. Okay, so for the next 30 days, I'm going to do a cleansing. What does that cleansing look like for me? Well, first of all, if all the people that you've been talking to are not aligned with what you want out of life, you're going to make a decision to scratch them off. And by the way, it gets really funky in those 30 days because they seem to know that you're trying to back away. So they're trying to reach out even
they'll
more.
want more. Yeah, right? Because as soon as you let go, it's like, ooh.
Yeah, and they would do things out of character, like, I miss you, I love you. I'm like, what are you talking about? You never, shut up, So you're looking at these messages and you have to know that this is a trick, right? It's almost like the universe saying, let me see how bad you want it.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to say, you know what? I don't even respond back, but you do what you wish. I'm the delete girl. I delete anyone that I don't no longer want contact with. Like, I'm like, delete. I don't even remember anyone's numbers. It doesn't even matter. Like, I'll just delete.
Right.
So if some random number pops up, I obviously deleted you for a reason. So there's no reason to respond back. So those 30 days, I believe in it. And I talk about this a lot, the 5 by 5, right? So because the first 20 minutes determines the outcome of your day. So if you start your morning looking at social media, looking at the news, or looking at your emails, or looking to see, because at least for us women, we like to dissect the text messages we receive. But what do they mean? Did they mean hello, sweetie, like this way? Did they mean like hello, sweetie? Like we like to look, we look into things, and men are very practical. They don't think that way. That's exactly what it meant. Hello, sweetie. That was it. There was nothing more to it. But we like to read into things, and they're not like that. But just really taking those 30 days, and I talk about the 5 by 5. So the 5 minutes waking up with prayer, 5 minutes of meditation. And I would say use those 5 minutes to really, really feel what you want in that relationship, if that's what we're talking about, because that works in any area of your life.
Right.
5 minutes of visualization, goes back to that vision board, looking at that vision board every morning. I have it now on my phone where I'm like, thank you, God, and I'll go through everything that I have on my vision board. 5 minutes of gratitude. Like we can get sucked in on what's not working. And there's a lot of great things happening in our life that we need to be grateful for.
So let me just get this straight, the 5 by 5. So it's prayer, visualization, meditation.
Yep.
Did I miss
gratitude?
Gratitude. Oh,
and journal.
And journal. Fantastic.
That's
wonderful. Can somebody write that in the comments? That is so awesome. Yeah, maybe I didn't get to that part of the book yet. I was like, bye, bye, bye. Wait a minute. I would have remembered that. Okay, cool.
No,
Yes,
I
I
call it
love
a
that.
5 by 5.
That's your discipline. And living with you for that, I act like I lived with you for a long time. It was only 4 days, but it was heaven on earth. It was heaven on earth living with you. Watching you meal prep, got me meal prepping, watching your lifestyle. And I love being with you. It's just the best. Um,
Thank you, hon.
but the 5 by 5 because your inner world creates your outer world. If you want success in your relations career, you control your destiny by what you're willing to do. And we can't constantly blame external things. We have to take responsibility and do the practices that are going to do. So once you started doing that, what happened with you? Not just your relationships, but your career, I'm sure also
You know,
expanded.
it's interesting because the Bible says that God will pay you triple for your trouble, right? And I cannot
God will pay you triple for your trouble.
He has definitely paid me more than that if you ask me. Like when I look back how far I've come in life and COVID did not, and I feel bad saying this, but it's the truth in my life and my journey. I'm gonna own it because I also been through the fire. you
Right.
know, I've been through the
You
hail.
did your 7 years of time. Yeah.
7 years. Like you guys just started wearing the mask. I had to wear the mask 4 years. So when you look back in my life and I look at what has happened since then, like the trouble that I endured manifested into a book that got picked up by a publishing company that I foresaw it so much smaller than that. I was like limiting myself when I thought, I'm like, oh wow, this is bigger than I thought.
Right.
Then I look at, being able, Miami is a big market for us when it comes to broadcasting. It's, if for Cox Media Group is number 4, for the country is number 11. And being able to be the director of sales, overseeing that whole department is a blessing because I'm like the youngest, the only Latina,
Wow,
the only color person. But it's amazing to see, what they're doing and seeing the goals and the things that they foresee the future going and giving me the opportunity. And also getting certified, I think it was last year as an IPEC coach. It was a year and a half training.
I remember when you were studying with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a year and a half, and just being able to multitask through all these good things. It was awesome. And being able now I'm actually creating a mastermind program and I'm really ecstatic about it. It's a 5 by 5 because I'm really trying to teach the spiritual, the scripture side without having to be this thing that you have to go to church on Sundays to receive that. Right. Because I don't necessarily, I love to go to church. I mean, obviously COVID changed that, but there were things that church was not giving me that I needed, that I had to tap into too many resources and I spend way too much money. So I simplified it and brought forth what I feel are the tools for success. So I'm calling it the 5 by 5 AM success habits.
I love it. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're not already following Angelina, you can go to Instagram.com/she fixes crowns. And then also her website is She Fixes Crowns. Jesse Ramos is biggest fan here. Prayer, meditation, visualization, attitude of journaling. I love it. Yes.
Thank you, Jesse.
So that's what's next on your vision to do that mastermind program.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm in the works. It should be launching by the end of March.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So it's already on the works. I'm working on it. And I felt it's been such a tool that it's been life-changing for me. And it's allowed me to like really live life with ease. I am no longer stressed of timing. I don't stress because those tools have allowed me to feel things before they even manifest. And walking in joy and not being worried about who's doing what, because I am finally walking in my inner truth. Like I'm happy if you're doing great and I'm praying for you if you're not doing great, but I'm no longer comparing myself. I am truly living full out. And I do believe it has a lot to do. I've been doing this and you said it, right? Like you seen me in the morning. I've been doing the 5, I didn't call it a 5 by 5 then.
Right.
I was doing the morning rituals because it was like my favorites, obviously, Deb, this, Les Brown, Louise Hayes, you look at Tony Robbins, then you even look at, I forgot, oh my gosh, she's going to kill me. But Gabby, and Gabrielle Bernstein. You look at all these people and I've invested so much money and trying to figure it out and do all the inner work, which I think is the best thing I've ever done. By the way, folks, like I know I was one like, I'm not but everything that you invest in, like it's about you and growth. And I believe that everything that I invested, from your coaching mastermind program that I joined with you, to my relationship coach with Jen, to the Tony Robbins, now I'm doing something with Lisa Nichols. So when you look at everything, it does evolve you, and you get something out of everyone. So I'm not saying it's not, but I did find that for me, the whole spiritual walk, the 5 by 5, I just grabbed things from here and there. I'm like, why are they not simplifying this? Like, even church, like, they make it very complicated, and
I
it's helped me.
and when I really know and believe about the 5 by 5 and what you do is that it gives you a confidence that goes beyond situation, circumstance, or condition.
Man.
Because there could be COVID happening, there could be economic thing. It is not going to touch you. It's not like literally when I was feeling a little funky in April because of when COVID first hit, living by myself, working by myself, it's a little bit. And then I went back into my practices, very similar to yours, and I realigned. I was like, okay, you got to walk on the beach. You got to get out in nature. You got to make sure you're eating, all that self care. But I think one of the things that's like a master teaching that you have that I think could be the final question that people could get from you, and you talk a lot about it in the book, is that it's confidence, not arrogance, to ask and to also know that you deserve and are worthy of your desires, whether it's a soulmate or a career opportunity, whatever it is. Why not you? How can you give people guidance to get that inner confidence?
Okay, so first I would say aligning yourself with what you want and removing yourself from things that no longer align with where you're going, right? Because I think decision making gives you confidence. When you start making decisions, bold decisions that this may be a very hard decision, but I know it's good for me because I'm heading in the right direction. That gives you confidence. I believe when you discipline gives you a ton of confidence. So, when you start, as simple as this may be, I make up my bed for a reason, right? Because if you wake up in the morning, make up your bed, you feel like you've accomplished something so far this morning. I
I
made up my
always
bed.
make my bed now. I always make my bed.
It's a sense of like accomplishment. And I think another level of confidence is having a plan for your life. And how does that look? Is that, I'm a big believer, the beginning of the year, I plan out my life quarterly. I do milestones. I look to see what are the 4 things I truly want to achieve in these 4 areas of my life. I break it down by month, and then I break it down by week and daily. At first, it feels funky and clumsy because you're just like, I'm not used to this. This is too much. I have a little bit much more of an administrative side, so it does come a little easier. But if you start small, how about if tonight you decide, I'm going to plan out my week, the rest of this week, I'm going to plan out what I want to achieve, put a
Yes.
due date to it, and hold yourself
Yes.
accountable.
Right.
Like, I'm going to, if it's reading 30 minutes a day on a book and a subject that you're trying to grow in, that is a sense of accomplishment. So I think the part of the confidence that people don't realize, that sometimes I just walk with so much confidence at this point, but I know it's a God confidence. This is not a arrogance, I think I'm all that, or anything like that. I think it comes from a place of like knowing when you do, and I'm going to go back. I mean, those are just tools that I've given you. But if you align yourself in the morning and you wake up, make up your bed, you know exactly how you're going to execute the day. There's things that happen in between. We know that. But you feel so much more confident. And then if you take that into your love life, and you see that, you're making bold moves, you're saying, you know what, dude, this is not going to work out. We're not aligned with what you are not aligned with what I want. But it more than likely they already gave you the clues. You kind of just ignore them. So you have to own it, right? You have to own it. And then those little decision making that you do each and every day just gives you this confidence that you look back 30 days and you're just like, damn, I'm bad. Like, I'm like, goodness sake. And it is a difference. It's not about the money. It's not about the people you know. It's not that. It's that you know that you're being guided by something so much higher because you decided to follow your inner truth. Your inner truth always knows the direction you should be going.
Absolutely. You know my affirmation that we're always in the right place at the right time with the right people to allow our divine talents, skills, and abilities. And I say in career to be abundant, to do what we love, but also we could say to share our lives with someone that we love and that is in alignment with our source, because one of the things I got from your book is the shifting from the idea of scarcity or wanting to feeling of wholeness and completion, and not to move until moved from that place of wholeness, because that's when you're going to align and you're going to match whole with whole, not half with half and try to come together and be a hot mess.
Yeah. And when you do attract a half mess, you like, oh, I guess I still got some inner work to do. Right?
Yes.
Right? Because if we truly believe that we attract who we are, even when it's with our abundance, and even when it's someone that we're just like, oh wow, that's not aligned. You just have to go back, and that's that morning ritual, right? Writing down in your journal, like, okay, what else I need to work on? Ask God, expand my vision with yours this morning. Show me in the areas that I still have to work and make it so obvious to me. And do that and be okay with those answers that come to you, because sometimes we don't like the answers, right?
Right.
It may be that, yeah, you're needy, so you're still showing up needy because a person that is full of themselves in a very loving way, really, they exude that kind of confidence, and you will start attracting different type of experiences and people. That's a fact. I've seen it in my own life, and I've seen it with others. So I started teaching this more and more and more, because I said, give yourself 30 days. I promise you, give yourself 30 days. And it never fails. They'll
So
come back to
remind us
me.
the 30 days, what we're going to do in the 30 days.
The 30 days, let's just go ahead and practice. Let's do the 5x5 practice. How about that?
Okay.
Right? Because I believe in it. And it's real simple, right? The 5x5 is the prayer. We're going to start with 5 minutes of prayer, meditation, visualization, gratitude, and journaling. Jesse is on it. He is on it.
Yes. So for 30 days, we're going to do the 5x5, and we're going to trust that when we say no to what is not for us, that is not in alignment, that we can say yes to what is. And I highly recommend that everyone pick up a copy. If it's not for you, you can buy it. I'm going to get this for a few people. Thank you for walking away, how to overcome life challenges and discover your purpose. And I totally believe that everyone has a purpose that is your soul's contract, that it's even bigger than you, and it's joy. It's not a job, it's a joy, and that you could all learn from our beautiful Angelina. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
spending time. I know it's late in Miami. I wish I was with you. I know it's late in Miami, so we will let you go. But thank you so much for being vulnerable by sharing your story in the book, because
Absolutely.
so many people that are going to read this are going to be able to learn from your experiences and to be victorious in love, but also in allowing their light to shine by connecting with their source, with God. So I think that's so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank
So
you. Thank you
beautiful.
for having me. Thank you for everyone that tuned in. I'm forever grateful. Thank you so much. And I can't wait. Like, if you start following me, I would love to hear how you implemented the 5x5 and how it worked for you.
And definitely go to her website. She fixes crowns. Sign up for a newsletter. Follow her on Instagram. Her Instagram posts are amazing. I started like reading them meticulously. I'm like, because she's taking little segments from the book and breaking them down. I'm like, yeah, I've been following you, girl. I've been following you. And I would love to be able to have you back on the show, because I'm sure in
Absolutely.
my mind, there's a second and third book coming out. So every book will have you back on the show. And I want to say thank you for everyone that tuned in, Jesse and Melissa and Brittany and Black Business Women Rock. Angelina is available for speaking, by the way, at conferences, and so am I. So I love that you're all here. And remember, we are here each week, every Monday, for a manifestation mindset marketing Monday at 6:15 p.m. Pacific time. I'm Deborah Deras, your host. And I am so grateful that you tuned in and that you are willing to do your inner work, because I truly believe in you. I believe that you have a soul's contract that is ready to be fulfilled, and that you can do it with ease and grace when you align for success. So thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, my friends, with the power of synergy, anything is possible. Ciao. Big hug, Angelina.
Thank
everybody.
you.
Hug. I could smell the mojitos and the tostitos.